Welcome to Mama Uprooted. I'm Emily, and I believe we're all a little uprooted, learning to grow in new soil. This is your space for real stories, real growth, and real life motherhood. No way is wrong here. Let's grow through it together. Okay, hello. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast because to me, literally, you're an inspiration and you're like one of my first calls, I feel like. So I am going to let you introduce yourself and then we are just going to roll on today because we have so much to cover. And this is probably one of my favorite topics, I think, to talk about. So this is why we are, doing this as our second episode. So go ahead.
My name is Chantel Coggins and I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I own my own doula business and I love what I do.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's get into, a lot of people don't really know what a doula is. I know that, first of all, when I had my first child, I had a friend get one and I was like, girl, what is this? And it was amazing. I didn't have that option and we'll kind of get into that. But let's just start off with what is a doula and really what do you do?
So a doula is a trained professional who really specializes in pregnancy, birth, and postpartum care, and really gives moms like that one-on-one piece that they're looking for during that time.
Yeah, and I think the one-on-one is huge. It's crazy, as far as that. And we'll talk about all of that, but just kind of diving into some roles. So, you talked about what you do, but physical support, emotional support, advocacy, let's helping with pain management, breathing, positioning. You do a lot when it comes to just labor and delivery, and then not to mention the aftercare of everything. So if you could kind of go into that a little bit as well.
Yeah. So the typical role of the doula is really to kind of be with the mother throughout the entire process. So for pregnancy, that could look like going to prenatal appointments and then kind of hearing like what the provider tells them in those appointments and answering any questions afterwards that they might be like, I don't really know what they were saying about that. Could you help me? So the doula can kind of give them a more one-on-one piece there. And then when it comes to time for labor, the doula is there for the entire labor. We provide support with like different pain management techniques, like a lot of hands-on, whether that's if they're having back labor and they need some massage on their back to help them feel better. And then we can help with like position changes that might progress the labor, help them feel more comfortable. And then in the postpartum time, we do a lot of like one-on-one help with breastfeeding, or it can literally be like, hey, I haven't showered in like 3 days, so could you come over and hold the baby while I do that?
Oh, that's real. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to dive right in that postpartum because that is huge. But the one thing that I really like trigger my head is when I went in like talking about, okay, you're going to have your water break, like all these things are going to happen. Like they would explain things to me and I'm kind of like, what does that feel like? I just remember like my mom being like, oh, your water's going to break. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like I've had some people say like, you don't actually, it's not like in the movies. Like you're not going to have this giant puddle of water. And I'm like, so what is it like? You just pee your pants? Like what's going on? So with my first, she was breech and I'll talk about that later. But I was very concerned because I'm like, this is my first child. And people are like, this is what it's going to feel like. Even like contractions, like, oh, you're going to have a contraction. I'm like, well, I don't really with 2 kids. I don't remember having contractions per se. So how do you explain that to people? Like, it's very hard, especially as a new mom, like a contraction, doctor would be like, oh, you're going to have a contraction. I'm like, can you explain that? Because I never understood it.
Yeah. So typically I do teach childbirth education. Mm-hmm. So in that, I usually kind of tell them I actually use a balloon and demonstrate how the uterus works and how it's all your body's designed to push that baby out. So like the contraction is going to feel like, I would describe it as like tightening, really intense kind of tightening of your whole like your whole tummy, and it kind of works from the top to push your baby down.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I kind of demonstrate that to them, like how your uterus is going to get hard and it's going to kind of come in waves, and then it will get worse as it goes, so stronger.
Yeah. And like everybody's different. So it was just like, you know, I know the doctors, I mean, my doctor was wonderful, but at the same time, it was just like every time they explained things to me, I always felt like, again, I was like an out-of-body experience, because I mean, it's so nice that you even come to the appointments, because I remember even myself being like, what did she just tell me? Like, I would take a notebook and try to write things down, because my husband didn't come every single time. I mean, it was very rarely he was with me. Even like when you just, your first child, second child, doesn't matter how many, I feel like you're kind of just in and out, like one ear out the other. What just happened? What did she just say to me? And they're on to the next patient. Yeah. So having you as a bestie, honestly, like you're not just a doula, you're a bestie for a mom, which is awesome. Every girl's dream. When they're pregnant, you need that. But even just like helping with pain management, there were so many times like I personally, and I know you too, as like a holistic aspect, like I try to not take any medications whatsoever. Like that's my goal in life. Like I want to just stay, that's my choice, chemically free, pain management. And that was a lot, you know? So how do you support a mom when it comes to pain management, especially if they're kind of going the holistic route as well?
Yeah. So oftentimes if somebody has like expressed that they want to have like a pain management, be like holistic approach, we do a lot beforehand to like prepare their mind for that, which I always say the biggest thing in my mind, in my experience, and what I've witnessed with women is breath, like your breathing techniques. That plays a huge role in pain management.
Yeah.
Because if you're holding your breath, you're tense, and that causes more pain. So a lot of times I will give them like all the resources they need to practice their breathing techniques before labor even starts. That way they know like, hey, I really liked this breath at home. And so that's what I'm going to try first. And then they know how to do it. They have practiced it. And usually that really makes a huge difference. And then when they get to the point where they're like, okay, this pain is so bad that maybe they're forgetting how to even breathe, I am there to remind them and do the breaths with them.
Yeah.
That really helps too. It helps them stay focused and keep their mind on track. And then we do a lot of like position changes really help. I know for me, I was like 7 kids in before anybody ever gave me a birth ball to sit on.
Those are amazing.
And I spent all of my labors in the bed.
Yes.
And I didn't know that it could feel so much better if I just got up and moved around or sat on the birth ball.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, yeah.
I mean, I bounced in front of the TV with it. I loved it. Like my first time, it was so big. I loved it. I would just sit in front of the TV and bounce, which I think that's why after my child came out, that's all we did was bounce.
Oh yeah.
No, that's great, because I mean, we have these options, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because we have so many resources out there, but at the end of the day, where do we go? So what do I do? I get so confused and overwhelmed with the amount of resources sometimes. Like, what are my options? What do I do? So my story, like my first child, I was like, I'm going to have a natural birth. I'm going to do a water birth. Like I really did. I cannot really take medication whatsoever. Like both of my C-sections, like I didn't do any medication whatsoever. Just like my body just can't handle pain meds. I'm just very sensitive, which is how my body just hates it, which I'm thankful for. Can't be a drug addict, so that's good. And I love that. But yeah, so I had this whole plan in my head that I'm just like, okay, I am going to have a natural birth. I'm going to have a water birth. Like before I even saw the doctor, you know. And I went in and I'm just like, I talked to the doctor and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And it was like immediate shutdown. And it like almost broke my heart. So I do want to skip ahead a little bit to kind of that birth plan aspect. And so starting off, you know, like give me some help with that. Like when someone has that issue where they have this plan, like I'm pregnant, and it's almost as women, like we automatically get a plan in our head.
Oh yeah.
Because that's who we are, right? Before I even talk to anybody, even though it was my first child, I have a plan.
Yeah.
So kind of give us some insight on that, you know, especially with the healthcare systems and things that we have. What is your thought on that?
So I always, that's like one of the longest prenatal appointments that I do with my clients is sit down and go through a birth plan. And a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I already filled out a birth plan for my provider. But I always remind them, like, my birth plan is a lot more in depth than that one. Because, I am going to be in the room the entire time. And so I need to know everything you are wanting. I want all of your desires known to me so that I can try to help make that happen. And so I feel like, and I always tell them too, I'm like, this is a birth plan. We're going to do our best to follow this birth plan. But as we all know, labor doesn't always go as planned.
Yeah.
And then when things start to shift, or if they start to shift, then I can kind of like talk my clients through that change. Like, okay, this is happening, so now we need to make a decision. And sometimes they'll know before labor even starts that, like I've had clients who are come to me and say, they're telling me, that my baby's too big and I might have to have a C-section, and they're terrified.
Yeah.
And at that point, my advice is like, let's do our research. Yeah. I'll send them all the research there is out there, like, all the information so they can gather their own knowledge on that. And then they can go back to their provider with their questions and concerns and figure out
what's going to be best for them. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Because, for me, and that's the thing, is how to support moms through all of this is the biggest thing. And that's why I love what you do, because I wish I had you as a person. I'm like, I wish I would have known you sooner. Someone was asking me the other day, like, everything you wanted, she would have been perfect for you. And I was like, I know. Nothing went as planned for me whatsoever with my first. And so I was really disappointed. And that was really hard. And so that kind of brings, that guilt, that emotional aspect when things don't go as planned. I still feel to this day stuck in this, like, I wish I would have done it that way. I wish I could have done it this way. And I probably could have, but I was pushed so many other ways from society and life and doctors and things like that, because my daughter was breech. So it's like, okay, and we did try everything, and it was terrible. Anybody that's ever had to have their baby inverted, the worst pain I have ever had in my entire life. Have you ever had that?
I haven't
tried that.
No, but I have been with clients who have, and I know it's very painful.
That was terrible. So in general, so my husband, like, how much time we have? She was literally standing up in my stomach, and we have a very long torso. And so her head was in my rib cage, and then her feet were just down there. I literally keep joking all the time. My daughter was just standing in my belly the whole time and would not move. We tried chiropractic work, things like that. It wasn't working. She just was not turning. And this doc was amazing. I still love him to this day. But he's like, and I'm very like, I'm competitive. And he was too. So he was like, let me try it. I was like, all right, I'll give you a chance. And, they lift you up in this giant, like, they bring you to the hospital, they hook you up to all these IVs, the ultrasound, like, it's scary. And I was just like, I would think I had tears in my eyes, because I'm like, what's going on? Like, am I going to have my baby today? I had no idea. I think I was like, I think I was at like 36 weeks or something. I was a little early, but not too soon, But doc's like, okay, we're going to try it. And they like literally, my husband's 6'5", so he's like standing next to me. He can like be up on top of over me. And then all these people are over top of me. And it was like, to me, it was a traumatic experience. Like, I still think about it this day. Even when talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm shaking. Like, they would grab her head and they're ultrasound guiding it. And he was like ripping her across, like, I don't know how, but that's what it felt like. And I was screaming. Like, it was the worst pain in the entire world. And, to the point where I was like, all right, we're done, Well, then he was like, he's like, I've never not had a successful inversion or whatever they call it, right? Inversion. So I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm competitive. And I was like, you know what? I am too. I'll give you one more try. That couple, I don't know how many tries, a couple tries. But to the point where I was screaming, and my husband is very, very quiet. He does not talk much at all. And I was screaming enough where he was like, we're done. We're done. Like, it was that bad. So I'm like, am I going into labor? Like, I don't know what labor pains are. And I'm like, Doc was even like disappointed. Like, he was like, I'm so sorry. He apologized. He's like, I've never had this not happen, And my husband's like, we're done. And he was like, I want you to come in the office tomorrow and like check you to make sure she's okay. I was bruised across my stomach. And it was so scary. Like, so now, like from my traumatic experience, I'm always like telling moms and like, do you, but I would like never again. Never again. Like, I wish I would have done something else. I wish I would have focused more on my chiropractic aspect or work with someone like you, because that was very, very traumatic to me. And now I've had people say, oh, I've had that and it was no problem. So I don't know. I don't get that. I mean, have you had that experience with some of your clients where like they've had it? Have they been flipped easily? Or is that just like, did I just have a crazy experience?
No, I have seen it where they tried and it was not successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this doc's like, oh, I'm successful. And I'm like, all right, you do you. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I have a baby and my hormones are already going crazy. So I was like, just do what you got to do, you know? Because I was dead set on that natural birth, you know? But yeah, so it was just, that was so traumatic. And so again, it's like at the end of the day, you just need somebody to support you, to walk you through that. So having somebody like you could help me make those decisions on, is this right for me? Is this not right for me? Of course, yes. The doctor asked me. I made the choice. We said, go for it. It was my first kid. I don't know. But I would never do it again. Never. And I tell people all the time, like, please don't do that. But yeah, so it's just, those are very things that I wish I would have had that bestie on, you know, because there's so many, like I said, again, resources. But there's also people that have so many opinions on things. And that's why having you is such a huge benefit. You know, regardless if they're going to be having the baby in the hospital or in their home, things like that, I feel like every mom should have a doula like you, because even your bestest friends are going to give you advice. And you're like, girl, no. Like, I have a best friend that's like, she pulled her own baby out. And I'm like, I love you. You are amazing. You are strong. That is not me. And I was like, I love her so much, but I'm just like, girl, no, I would never do that, you know, because everyone just has different pain tolerances, everything like that. But that's what you can kind of figure out when you're working with your clients is, you know, how do you feel? You're asking the right questions because yeah, your best friends, they're not. They're there to support you, and I love them. But at the end of the day, you're completely opposites, you know? Yeah. So how do you do that? You know, how do you get things out of people's head in general, too? Like, how do you have those conversations with people who are like, oh, my bestie did this, and what do you think about this? You know, it's like, how fun is that, dealing with those things and telling people, well, that's probably not ideal for you.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely... when we do the birth plan, like, people will always have like ideas on things, or they'll literally say like, I'm hearing so many opinions from my family, and then they want me to give them like an exact answer, and I'm always just like, I'll provide you with the resources and the information, but like we can make the decision together, and you can make the decision together with your support person, but you just make sure you do your research.
No, I love that. And I think it's so important. I think a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you really ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing for your body, you need to research. You need to research on it. Asking opinions, putting it on social media is not the thing. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, like another day, another time. But like even me posting, my daughter wouldn't sleep for years and for years still. She wouldn't sleep. And I wish I would never even posted something single like that on social media. People's opinions are absolutely insane. It's like, but you know, and that's what, again, I love you, because the thing is, I would ask so many people for help and questions. Like, I am brand new to this. So for all the moms out there that are just now pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, this is why you're such a great option, because the weight of the world right now is so difficult. You can search anything on Instagram and find somebody's opinion on how you're supposed to do something. You can see this woman's beautiful, perfect water birth, and it just really sparks you and makes you feel so good, but it's probably not going to go that way, girl. And that, it hurts like a little bit when I see those, because I'm like, that was what I wanted. Like, I wish I would have had that, you know, but we have to kind of figure out together, like, what's going to work, what's going to be reality, what's real, because it probably wasn't a perfect water birth. It wasn't this beautiful story, you know? Right. So that's really hard when it comes to that. And that's why, like, you're kind of like, okay, sit down. Let's talk about reality here, right? And I think that helps ground your moms too, right? I mean, as far as like, what are the next steps, you know, and you're asking like, what are some good questions that you ask too when people get like, okay, I have this and this, and they get, I'm sure you've had somebody like me, because I'm always like all over the place. You know, how do you help ground them?
I'll like, if somebody's like dead set on something, I I really feel like it's important. And I'm always like, it's awesome to have this plan, but I always want them to know that like things can change.
Yeah.
So I really just kind of bring them back to that reality. Like, this is our plan, but you know, we have to be prepared for what might happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes I do feel like in labor, when things start changing, they receive it better from me.
Yeah.
So if a provider comes in the room and tells them all this information, that can be kind of overwhelming. Sometimes they don't even understand what was said, or they're just not really. It's like they trust me more, so then I can repeat what was said, or repeat it in a different way, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." Then let's do that.
I mean, I trust you. I barely know you. I feel like we've been talking for a long time. But I mean, I do. I just feel like you're just so calming, and I just appreciate everything you do because it's needed. You know, I work with providers every single day, and they're busy. They're fast paced. That's probably not, they don't have time to sit down and talk through the therapy session about what do we need to do, and we need a quick answer, you know, and that's their job, and that's okay. And that's why we have people like you to help them, guide them, and go through that. So I want to talk about my favorite part now, and this is the postpartum doula support.
Yes.
You shared with me, like, you know, you're supporting postpartum moms, and I had no idea you did this, but to me, this is a game changer because every mom needs a friend like you. Seriously. And like, I need you now. Like, can you come to my house? Can I hire you? Because I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it's literally chaos. But this is where it gets a little emotional for me because my first child was, when you said you did postpartum, I was like, oh my gosh, like that would have been a dream. Your first child, I'm a very independent person. I think, and my internal instinct is, I can do this. This is what I'm going to do. And this is how I have to learn to figure this out. Like, I just didn't think about asking for help, and regardless. I mean, I had a C-section, and I think maybe I'm crazy, but my husband will probably correct me on this, but I feel like he like went back to work with like in 3 days. Like, I got home from the hospital like on a Monday, and he's back to work on a Wednesday. And I was like, what? You're like, I looked at him like, I'm like delusional. Like, you're leaving me? Like, he did get paternity leave. But I'm like, holy cow. He's like, I'm going back to work. And I'm just like, so here I am, expected to be by myself, do my own thing. Yes, my mom's just down the road. I mean, I have people I could have probably called on, but I didn't. I did not take a shower for probably a week sometimes. I left my hair in a bun. I had very long hair. And I was literally just like, throw it up in a bun and just go. Like, and my daughter was severely colicky. So I was mental, like completely mental. He goes back to work. I'm just trying to like figure all this out. Like, I was so independent. And so when you said like you went to, tell me like a little bit more, like give me some examples of what you do for postpartum, because this is amazing, people. Like, everybody needs a friend like you.
Yeah. So typically for me, a postpartum journey with somebody would be like, okay, so I leave the hospital. They have the baby. I still hang around for an hour to 2 hours to make sure right away postpartum that everything's going okay. Like, if they're planning on breastfeeding, I'm not going to leave until they have latched their baby and at least have an idea and have, fed a couple times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure like, hey, are you good for me to leave? So they even get me for a couple hours after the birth. Then I leave and give them their space and everything. I check in with them that night. Hey, how are you doing? Is there anything you need? Then the next day, I usually will go back up to the hospital and visit for an hour or two. Like, I don't want to be taking up a lot of their time, but I want them to know that I'm there. And then after that, it's kind of like every week I'm going to be checking in. If they tell me that they don't need me and they're good and they're comfortable and everything's great, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I always check in and remind them, I can come over and do like the simplest of things. It does not have to be something spectacular. If you tell me like, hey, I need you to just come over and hold the baby while I take a quick shower, I'll do that. I've gone and sat with some of my clients for like 2 or 3 hours. I sat with their baby while they just took a nap. I just held the baby.
nice.
I fed the baby the bottle. I changed their diaper, and they took a 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
And to them, that was like world changing. They're like, oh, I feel so much better. I got like 2 hours of sleep.
Oh my God. It's like, yeah, if you get 2 hours of sleep, you wake up like, whoa, did I just sleep like 10 hours? Like that was always, remember, like finally when I did sleep, I was like, whoa, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
I took a shower, I brushed my hair.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean,
absolutely.
those little things are huge.
Yes.
But I mean, I never thought that. I mean, I love even like the questions you ask because people today don't know how to support a mom in general. I mean, they don't ask you like, did you eat today? Did you shower today? Those little tiny questions are extremely important. Friends out there, in-laws, parents, husbands, boyfriends, whatever, like you guys, those questions need to be answered because I just remember, like, I think that's why it started kind of going down this emotional toll because I don't remember eating. Did I eat? I don't know. Like, I don't remember. I was like taking care of a baby. Like, having a C-section, like I lived on the couch. I was so alone. Like it was terrible. But I mean, yeah, we're alone.
Yeah.
and
that
scary.
honestly, that's one of the things too that I always think, like when I think back to my postpartum, what was one thing I really, really appreciated that somebody did for me? And it was really bringing a meal.
Yeah.
That is the simplest thing in my mind. Like, just bring me a meal because I don't want to have to worry about that, especially if you already have children.
Oh, yeah.
And you're trying to take care of a newborn. You don't have time to cook.
Right now. I mean, I have a 1-year-old and 3-year-old, and I'm like, my mom's cooking once a week because I'm like, and I only have 2 kids. I'm like, so I don't know how you do it. Oh my gosh, it's been so crazy. Yeah, so it's just, it's wild out there. But I kind of want to go into now, like, you had your first child at 18. You now have 8 kids. This is where I get really excited and I feel emotional in a way because can you just share your journey, how that journey began and kind of what it taught you? And just there's so many different questions I have, but I feel like that's where you are inspiring to me because I have 2 kids and you have 8. And I'm like, there are times in my life where I'm literally like, I'm stressing, I'm crying. Like yesterday I had a breakdown. I'm in the bathroom. I'm like screaming, unless I needed to have a breakdown. And I'm thinking, but you have 8, or I have a friend that has triplets. Like, it's just like, okay, Emily, you have 2 kids. You can do this. If they can do it, you can do it. So kind of just tell me, your first child at 18 now with kids, it's amazing to me. I honestly, you are, like I said, inspiring. So give me some more on that.
Yeah. So I became a mom at a young age. And honestly, looking back, I feel like it's like I tried to be prepared for labor and birth and what being a mom was going to be. Like I took a childbirth education class. I remember doing that. But I don't really feel like I was honestly like when it came time to have my baby, I feel like there wasn't really a respect for me in the hospital per se because of my age. So I went in there with my family as my support and I had a birth plan. Like my plan, I was like, I'm not getting an epidural because I didn't want one. I had heard that it could impact the baby, and I was like, no, I don't want an epidural. I'm doing this natural, or I'll just take like the IV pain meds. Yeah. That was my goal. Things happened. Well, I had to be induced. So right away, intervention there because my blood pressure was high, so I had to be induced. Then I needed Pitocin to, start the induction. Like the contractions were coming like intense and I was out of my mind in pain. I had no clue. You can't tell a mom what contractions are going to really feel like.
Right. That's
until they're there.
I have no idea.
And then I was just like, I can remember crying and being like, I can't do this. Well, I just feel like somewhere along the lines there was a lack of respect and in my wishes for skipping the epidural. I can remember my doctor looking me dead in the eyes and saying, you need to get the epidural. Like, I guess my pain was just, too much for them to deal with. So I was talked into getting the epidural. I got the epidural, and then I could not feel a thing. I couldn't even effectively push. And I pushed for 3.5 hours with like hardly any progress. Yeah. They were telling me that they were going to have to get out the vacuum and my baby's heart rate was dropping. It was like everything bad that could happen was happening.
Yeah.
I was terrified. They used the forceps and the vacuum, got her out, and then she wasn't breathing. And I mean, they put her on my chest, and at first I didn't even realize she wasn't breathing. And then it was like everybody in the room, all of a sudden there's all these people just rushing into my room, and they take my baby away, and they're like working on her. And the feeling that I felt in that moment, like, was terrifying. I can't even.
I mean, I have talked to so many women that have almost like very similar stories. And this is like almost where it's scared people to get pregnant in general because of what is going on in their society and what we know now, and just like this crazy stuff. And I think that's why we're all kind of looking for this bestie now, or doulas, and looking for the holistic side of things and in-home births, because we're so afraid of all those scary things that happened. Yeah. It's like, as women, we grow this beautiful baby in our belly. We want to be in control. I want to control everything. But then when you get in that hospital bed, and I'm not saying everybody, but there is a time where you have no control and they are taking over your body. And like, yeah, they're just like, they put an epidural on you. Like for me, like how I felt with C-section, it's like they're flopping me on a table like I'm a damn fish. And it's like, it made me feel so lost. Like I can't feel anything waist down. And like, you're just going to take me, you just take my body, and it just feels so yucky and it's so scary. And so that's why I think you're so important. And so going into, how that shaped you to your desire to support other women on their journeys. I mean,
yeah. So what it did for me was it kind of, obviously I continued to have more children, and each time, I mean, I feel like each time it did get better.
Okay.
Up until like my 7th, and then I had like another traumatic experience. And what I learned through all of that was just that, like, I slowly learned how much better birth could be. I started to kind of realize, like, oh, all of a sudden on my 7th, they were like, I had a nurse who was really helpful, who was like, you could sit on this birth ball, that'll feel better, and your labor will move faster. Yeah. And I'm like I didn't even know that was an option.
I know, right?
And so it really opened my eyes to, like, there's a lot more about birth that I feel like,
there's a lot of loopholes.
Who's going to tell you? Because the nurses are busy, the doctors are busy. You don't have that.
I feel like unless you get a really good nurse, and there are very, very, like, I had an amazing nurse with my first child. The second go around was so-so. And yeah, it's like, you've got to find the right people, but you don't get to choose who's in the room unless we use you. So it's like, that's why everybody needs a doula.
So I just really took that as, I feel like somewhere along the way, I just really had, like, I couldn't shake this, like, calling. I want to call it a calling on my life of, like, I really need to help women and especially young moms. Like, for me, I was thinking back to, like, looking back at how young I was when I became a mom and how terrified I was. I'm like, I have a heart to
I wasn't young and I was terrified.
Any mom, like, my God, everybody needs help.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, as you went through each pregnancy, I was going to ask you, like, looking back at your 18-year-old self, looking back, but really, like, looking back at each pregnancy, I mean, how did that shape you, and, like, really helping you change where you can now support women in such an amazing way. It's so inspiring, and you are available to whoever, that postpartum pregnancy. I mean, do you even meet with moms too that even ask that, like, that are looking to get pregnant, like, before they get pregnant?
I have. Okay. I have met with somebody who.
That's great.
It was like going to be her second pregnancy, and she had a traumatic experience the first time. So she wanted to talk with me and see, like, how she could plan ahead to have a better experience if she decided to go forward.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. Yeah, that would be, because I had a traumatic and we weren't going to have a second. So, but how has now with 8 children, how has that journey really pushed you forward too? Like, I mean, like, each kid kind of gave you a different experience, because every pregnancy is different. So when you talk about that, the girl's like, okay, I'm scared to have my second. this kind of helped you guide you through. Like every pregnancy is different. Like my son was completely different. And I was like, holy cow, like I can have another one. I'm ready. And I was like, obviously I'm done. But yeah.
I feel like really each pregnancy or as time went on, I started to learn other things, like the more hands-off approach. Like I really started to value that. I was like, even something so simple as when I had my first pregnancy, somewhere along the lines, I thought that I couldn't do any like exercise.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pregnant, so I can't be doing any physical activity. I just need to be like sleeping all the time and resting.
I must be crazy because I rode my horse up until I was due. So I showed my horse and my doctor was yelling at me. I mean, I went to spin class every day. They were like, what are you doing? You need to get off. So and
I realized along the way. It's the best thing for you. Yeah, like, no, that's good. You need to exercise. Stay exercising. That's be active. Chiropractic care. I didn't even know that was a thing for pregnant moms until
it's the best thing ever happened to me.
Yeah. And then as time went on, and then I became a doula, and I learned this whole other world of birth and even home birth. Like I didn't have a home birth, but if I was restarting, I would have had probably all home births.
Yeah, me too.
Because I just really value, like, your body was designed to give birth.
Yep.
You don't need all these interventions.
For how many of years?
Yes.
Like back in the wild, like they're just having babies.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's an inspiration because I mean, 8 kids is amazing. Like you do, I feel like you fly off the seat of your pants, but also it's like, it is still very inspiring. But like, 8, like for me, like I want to say like anybody out there being young, pregnant, like I can remember like I'm 18, I think I was turning 19. Like I took off like across country. Like I was like, so this is kind of like everything shapes us who we are and who we become. So like everything that you did was like the scariest thing in the world. But today it's amazing because I strongly believe everything happens for a reason. It shaped me. Like when I took off, I wasn't pregnant or anything, but like it shaped me. Like, but the girl 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like she's gone. And like same thing for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the girls, like for me personally, like when I look back at my younger self and telling myself, I'm like, that girl's gone. And everything that I did, I would not regret it in a way because it shaped me for who I am today. And same thing with you. And like, it literally is so empowering because you are who you are today because of what happened. You're inspiring, you're empowering other women because of that. Even though like it was hard, it was really, really hard. I can't imagine what you went through. But it's something truly to be proud of. I really hope that, people feel that the reign is hard. You get pregnant young, you get pregnant, you have a traumatic experience, no matter what your storm is, you can get through it. And there's a reason you're going to get through it. And you're going to look back and you're like, I'm so glad I did that because now I'm this person.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of feel with you, like your journey is amazing because it's like, this is why you're a doula of what all of the experiences you went through with 8 kids from start to finish, you have all of this value and all these beautiful gifts that you can give to other women. So I'm so glad that you do what you do. So tell us, how to start working with you. What I'm just curious, like, do I just give you a call? Do I shoot you a text?
Yeah. So typically people either just find me on social media or that honestly, I feel like that's probably the most common way. People will just send me a message, text, email, and then we'll get like together and do a consultation.
Yeah. And how does that consultation work? Like, I mean, do you guys just sit down and ask questions like we talked about before, just kind of making sure like we're going to be the right fit for each other? We like each other. Like you can be open and honest, like, girl, I don't like you. But I mean, you are very likable. So.
So far I haven't had anybody not, but I mean, they could happen.
That's how I am. I'm like, hey, like if you don't like it, you're not happy, I'm not happy. That's how I am in sales.
That's true though. I feel like I really do I have told people this is not just an interview for me to meet you. Like you are interviewing me. Yeah. We're interviewing each other. We need to work well together.
It's important. Yeah. You need to build a relationship. And if it's not working, and I mean, that's normal in life. Like I said, I'm in sales. So I'm like, we don't vibe. That's cool. I can move on to the next one. There's the next person in line.
Usually like the first consultation would be like, we meet, they usually want to know more about what I can do for them as a doula. Cause I kind of feel like people, it's a newer it's a newer trending thing.
It seems like it. Yeah. Because I didn't even know, like I said, the postpartum aspect. Like, oh my gosh, like I would just hire you for that. Like, love that.
So I do, like, I go through all of my services with them, whether they have insurance or not, what the packages are. And we just talk about all that. And then kind of like, what is their desire for their birth?
Yeah. I love that.
If they feel like I'm a good fit, then they'll message me and we, they sign my contract and we move forward.
No, I love that. I think it's so important. And I, like I said, I've said it probably 1,000 times now in this recording, but I'm like, I wish I would have had you because there's so many benefits. And I feel like you and I could talk for probably 2 hours, just of all the different things and how you can support mom and all the mom guilts and things like that. Because that's hard. Like I look back now and I'm like, I'm never going to experience that again. It makes me sad. Like I'm done having kids.
It is sad.
It's hard. It's so difficult for me and, all those traumatic experiences. So, but let's go into our closing segment here. I always like to end each episode with encouragement and growth. And so something that helps moms leave them feeling just grounded and inspired, because it's a whole part of our, conversations is making moms feel heard and open and know that there are resources out there. They're overwhelming, but where do we start? What's the next steps? So what's one thing you wish every mom knew going into birth or postpartum?
Oh, honestly, I just wish every mom would know the power of their own body. Like birth is, like I said before, we were designed to give birth. Trust your body, trust your instincts, and know fully that you can do it.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, just
mindset's everything.
Yeah.
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 I stress on that quite a bit, like mindset. I do truly, truly believe in that positive aspect and like the breathing and things like that. I mean, you can get through this. They've been doing it. You can do it, girl. Yeah. For moms grieving their birth experience, what's something they can hold on to? Because that's very hard for me. Like, even like I said, I was like, I still have this, I get triggered a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. And that I understand that. I would say, honestly, just hold on to literally the fact that you do have a baby. You gave, whether your birth went the way you were planning or not, you still gave birth to that baby. And you gave them life.
Yeah.
You grew them, and
that's huge.
They're a miracle.
I mean, you got through all of that. That's amazing. Yeah. And I think we need more words of affirmation for a lot of women in general, because like you did this, and remind them like you just grew this baby for this long, and you just, regardless of how the baby came out, you did an amazing, job. How can a mom reclaim her strength and confidence even after unexpected outcomes? Because I feel like that's really hard too when you, especially like C-section, like I had all this plan and all of a sudden you're rushing into emergency C-section. It kind of levels you down, like in a way, like you feel, that's where I feel like depression, anxiety, things like that kick in. So how do you help those mamas, especially in the postpartum aspect, is building their strength and their confidence back up?
Yeah. So typically, even if a birth goes completely as desired, what I would like to, like I will sit down with them and we'll talk about how the birth went.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the biggest reasons, like when I'm there, I'm keeping track of like, what time did we do this? And what position did we do? When did your water break? And all of that is to have that and to show them, look, you did this for this long.
Yeah.
I mean, you got through this. You progressed to this point. You were so strong, whether or not it went as planned.
Because you're not about experience. Like,
right.
I don't remember all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can use that and show them, look how strong you were. And I feel like that helps because they'll be like, oh, I didn't even remember that I did that.
Yeah, it's like you got a journal friend for you. Like, when you journal and write things down, it really helps me and empowers me. But if like having your friend doing it for you and you're having your out of body experience is a game changer for sure. Because, oh, really? That happened. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then what's one small action or mindset shift, which we kind of talked about, but a mom can take this week to feel more empowered, whether they've already had a kid, they're looking to have another kid, just anything really.
Honestly, I feel like just make a small goal of like one thing that you enjoy, and try to do that like each day. Like go on a walk. I would say like for me, it would be just some sort of movement. Like if I go on a simple walk, I'm just going to feel like, wow, look what I just accomplished.
Fresh air.
Yeah. Or read a book or take a bath. Just like
One goal,
simple
1
task.
week. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. And accomplish that. And you're going to be like, wow, look what I did.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's great advice because we don't do that. You know, we are the last things on our minds. Like I rarely take care of myself most of the time.
Yeah.
Self-care is like out of the woods, right? But yeah, so every birth story is different. Every mom's journey is different, but we are all deserve to feel supported and strong, especially when we're just trying to find our roots, whether you're having a second baby, a third baby, a fourth baby, this is your very first baby, you're thinking about getting pregnant, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you got this, mama, do you. But thank you for coming and talking to us because this is so impactful. Like I said, I feel like we could talk forever.
Yeah.
But come back next week as we keep digging into the real, raw, and beautiful parts of motherhood. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Every plant, every story, every mama. Keep going, keep growing, keep doing you, your way. Make sure you're subscribed to Mama Uprooted and on our email list to get your weekly rooted guide made to ground you, support you, and grow with you. We'll be back next week, rooting for you every step of the way.